The Invest in Her podcast is brought to you in part by Wells Fargo Bank. Hi, I'm Catherine Gray, founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation. I'm also the podcast host of Invest in Her and an award-winning producer, author, and TEDx speaker. Our show, Invest in Her, features phenomenal female founders and funders. As you know, women receive less than 2% of venture capital funding. Our series is about accelerating the funding of women by connecting them to funding resources. Let's meet today's guest. Welcome to this week's episode of Invest in Her. I'm your host, Catherine Gray, founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation and producer of the new movie, Show Her the Money. Yes, we've just been on a 100-city tour, and today I'm with one of my associate producers of the film. He is also a 3-time exit entrepreneur. He is also having been involved with corporate venture capital with Dell and HP and Lenovo. And now we are business partners starting the Silicon Valley Women Founders Fund. I'm so happy to have on the show my partner and my friend, John Majeski. Hey, John.
Hey, Catherine. Good to be here today.
Good to have you here. Let's talk a little bit about how you got started, in the entrepreneurial world. It's like most people, you just kind of fall into it, right?
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I mean, you truly do fall into it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you started right out of college, right?
I did. I started with a very small computer consulting business in the early to mid 90s.
Yeah.
And tried to scale that as best I could, but ended up, being young and not understanding exactly how to scale, how to grow, and how to subcontract and delegate and all that. And I got very fortunate in that a much, much larger organization came to me and said that they're rebuilding their company from ground zero. They need new partners. And would I be interested in selling my business to them? And I was just thrilled to have a job and some stability and, not be pulling my hair out, trying to keep up.
So they offered you a job.
Right.
And some equity.
Yes. And I had no idea what the equity meant until we did some really interesting firsts as a technology company, and the company ended up exiting. I didn't even understand what that term meant. But when I got a check for my equity, I thought, wow, equity. This is a really good thing.
Huh?
Yeah, equity's not bad.
And coming out of college, and, this is something we're working on. Like, we want to teach investing in venture capital for entrepreneurs at colleges, universities, and high schools. Like, that's our plan, right, with the movie. But don't we wish we knew that back in high school and college? Because like you said, you came out of college and you kind of became an entrepreneur without even realizing really what that meant, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
And the best way to learn is to do.
Absolutely.
Right? Make all our mistakes and, learn along the way. Like, nothing really better than that. But it would have been nice to have this taught to us at a younger age?
Oh my gosh, yes. And I mean, I think that with the curriculum that you're developing to get this into people's minds when they are young and full of entrepreneurial spirit and drive and great ideas, that's the time to bake those skills in rather than having to stumble into it accidentally.
Now, I don't know if it was always this way, but in today's society, about 17% of high school students are already entrepreneurs. Isn't that amazing?
That really is incredible. And I guess that's part of the creator economy with people being able to sell stuff on Instagram or Etsy and things like that.
And then after they graduate, another 16% become entrepreneurs, like within, the next couple of years. So, 30% of the market right out of college are entrepreneurs in this day in society. So it is so important that we offer this education and these opportunities for them to get funding, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I digress. So now the next step was you ended up getting into corporate venture. Let's talk about that because that's an amazing path too that you kind of fell into.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when I was first offered corporate positions, I thought I'd be doing all this really cool innovation and things like that. And although I was honored to have titles like CTO at HP and things like that, it didn't really mean innovating in the way that you're not with a bunch of engineers in a lab doing really cool things. You're generally looking at companies to acquire.
And wait, you're a technologist yourself, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you know what you're looking for.
Yes, self-taught technologist, but a technologist nonetheless.
Yeah.
And but it was really interesting. It was a whole and although I have no complaints about the exit that I had, I was very fortunate. It could have been even stronger had we been more aligned to what the big companies really wanted in terms of an acquisition, and that they're not looking for the next cool product or a new product. They're looking at technologies that can for the most part, to make their existing product lines sell better and help them outmaneuver the competition.
And, with our new fund, the Silicon Valley Women Founders Fund, I know your expertise in this arena is going to be really helpful because you're able to vet basically what type of a tech company, and in our case, we're focused on women tech innovators. What are these large technology companies looking for, like Dell or like HP? What are they looking for? And like you said, they're not always looking for a new product. They're often looking for a product that helps make their products even better and more competitive, right?
Right. Yeah. So at a broad level, they're looking for software because these are generally hardware-based companies. And they're trying to improve their margins. The margins are very slim selling hardware for anybody. And if they can layer on value-added software or services or support or subscriptions, those are the things that drive value and help to differentiate them from their competitors.
Right. That makes perfect sense. So let's roll back a little bit because you became one of the two men that invested in Show Her the Money. And I want to talk about why it's important to you to get behind women.
Yeah. Well, I think, I was shocked that the number was 2%, that women only receive 2% of all funding out there. And I thought the number must be wrong. I went back and did my own research, and I certainly couldn't find a number north of 2%, and everything that I found confirmed or even looked worse than the 2% that you represented.
Right.
And that bothered me as the father of a daughter, who was raised in Silicon Valley. I saw the improprieties there as well, and it started to, I started to make connections in my head that this just isn't right. And I've also always done well, sort of placing bets where others aren't, and if that market is so saturated that 98% of all venture capital is going to one gender, and 50% of the population, the other gender, is being ignored.
Yeah,
I'd rather be placing bets on those technologists, and then going deeper and looking at some of your statistics about women founders and validating those statistics that in general they perform better and in a number of different ways. I thought, why not? I mean, this it doesn't make any sense to ignore women entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I just had a guest on talking about how just scientifically the facts are that, like we always talk about, women are a better bet. They tend to stretch the dollar further. They tend to be more profitable. They tend to exit earlier. It would only make sense that we be investing in them.
I think so.
Yeah. And, just having traveled the world with our film, Show Her the Money, I met brilliant innovators in every single city I went to. And I see how much deal flow there is out there. And that's when we said, hey, let's put our resources together and our knowledge together. And, I'll bring in the deal flow, and you, having been a technologist and a person that is, vetting what is Dell going to invest in, what is HP going to invest in, and bringing that knowledge over to our vetting system within our fund. And so these are all critical things to creating change in this arena, right?
For sure.
And I love that you wanted it to be an all women run. We're bringing in women advisors, women GPs, so that this is a women run fund. But I also applaud that you are the first male in Silicon Valley to want to start a women founders fund that's run by women.
Yeah,
And so, John, you're making history here.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I'm happy to be an ally, and I think that allyship is important too. I think it's important to have women behind women and men behind women as well.
It is important. We do need both.
Yeah.
I always have said, I said it in my TED Talk, how's that been working for us? But I do think as we educate men through our film, Show Her the Money, about this disparity, like you said, you didn't even realize it was that imbalance. I still get that to this day, even though we've been traveling with it for a year. Men will still see the film and say, wow, I did not know that women got only 2% of venture capital. Probably because the majority of men are in different professions and really don't know that much about venture capital as a lot of very accomplished women. And so that really is the purpose of our film, right? We go on the road and we meet with people in person, show them this film that in an engaging storytelling kind of way tells them what is venture capital, why is it so important to the future of the planet, and why they should be investing in it to both make an impact and a profit. Right. And so that's really our mission, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And certainly the film was inspirational in terms of, coming up with the idea to start a fund that invests in women.
Yeah.
Just sort of having that epiphany that, well, gosh, maybe I'm in the position where I could do something about this and actually make a difference.
Right. And I think, and I've had other men in the audience come and say, I saw the movie, where do I sign up? How do I invest? I want to invest in women. I can see it's a good bet. I have daughters, they always say to me, and I want it to be more equitable for them. And that's great. I think we will really have a groundswell of male allies, and I think we will have a groundswell of women investing in venture to get behind women and BIPOC and LGBTQ, all the overlooked communities. And I think they're going to do very well financially by doing that, and that then also that will make the others follow too.
Yes.
Once they say exactly what you just said, this is an overlooked opportunity. And when people see people making money in that arena, they are going to follow suit because let's face it, everybody follows the money. Whether it's, now gold is the hottest thing. Everybody follows that. Oh, crypto is the hottest thing. Everybody follows that. But whatever everybody's making money in, the rest all follow, right?
Absolutely.
And so
absolutely.
There you have it.
And I hope that we're copied on a large scale.
Yeah. I do too.
There are, and especially in a day where VC funds are struggling to provide the returns and find the right investments and things like that.
And I think it's because they've left off the table all those innovations of women and BIPOC and LGBTQ that could have made their fund and their portfolio stronger and better and more successful.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's a combination of unconscious bias and very conscious bias, too.
Yes, both.
And I think you combine the two of them and there's toxicity there.
Yes, there is. And you are so right. Some men, it is absolutely unconscious. They didn't even realize, I didn't even realize we weren't investing in women. That's crazy. And then there are those that, especially those, I think, in the venture capital world, that are consciously not investing, but to their own detriment.
Right.
In the long run, to their own detriment.
Even in my own history, where I've done angel investing and things like that, unconsciously, and following others and going into male-led VC deal vetting scenarios and things like that. It just happened to be all men, and the women. A lot of women founders were just sort of dismissed. It was So it was sort of unconscious. I mean, I was following the masses too, and it's time for me to do better.
Right. And I think at some point you started to say, oh, wait a minute, this is a conscious bias, especially when you started setting up our fund, oh, wait, this is a conscious bias. They aren't investing on purpose, which is like mind-blowing, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the stuff in the movie is very real. What the women in the movie express in terms of the challenges that they faced when approaching men for funding and how they're treated and the things that are said, it's absolutely real, which is scary.
They're asked different questions than men. And if we could just get the gender out of the equation and just say, who has the best innovation? Who has the best product?
Thank you. And that's the point, is that gender just doesn't even belong in the equation.
It doesn't. But
you
it
know?
is in the equation, and we do have to fix it, but we can work toward it not being an issue.
Right. It's kind of ironic because with the statistics that women generally perform better than men
Yes.
with founders. If anything, it should be the opposite
It should
problem
be.
that we're having a tough time getting men funded.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you just said that. Could you even imagine if men were only getting 2% of venture capital and women were getting 98%? Oh my God, the world would explode just out of their anger. But I think women are handling it very graciously. I think the cool thing is that women are coming into a tremendous amount of wealth, more than ever in history. We talk about this all the time. We talk about it in the movie. The biggest transfer of wealth coming into like $30 trillion in the coming decade. And they will have the power to decide who gets that funding. And that's really why we're on this journey with the film, Show Her the Money, to educate women on what an important asset class venture capital is to what are the future services and products that we're going to see, and how can they influence that, not only as an investment to make a profit, which of course is important, but more importantly to make it as an impact. And isn't it great when it's both?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody who, invests in a startup, whether it's an angel investor or through a fund, they're hoping to make a return on their money. So if they're making an impact and making a return on their money, absolutely. That is
That's
golden.
the goal. That's the goal. What is it that you love most about being in the venture capital world? Like, you've been in this for a while now.
Yeah.
You've set up your own fund prior to this one, Portola Valley Partners. You've worked with the venture funds for these large tech companies. What have you loved most about being involved in it and investing in it?
Well, I mean, I think it starts as sort of, personal preference. It's sort of my inner geek at heart, where I get to see all this new technology.
Yes.
And when I see a founder that has drive, determination, passion, and grit, that's just exciting. And you see how much belief they have in their product and how much research they've done that their product is the right product and it needs to be brought to market.
Yeah.
And especially if it is something that can better somebody's lives. I mean, I'm not interested in investing in, gambling apps or something like that.
Yeah.
But something that can, improve health outcomes or, increase longevity or make life easier in general. It's just really exciting stuff. And then especially when you can see that, if you sort of look into your crystal ball, I wish I had one that worked perfectly, It's definitely cloudy at best. But if you can look in there and you see things that a large company will ultimately acquire this company and go on to do great things with this product and change the world, that's just really rewarding.
Exciting. I noticed like 3 of the products that you've gotten behind are #1 worldwide. And that must be like exhilarating.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It absolutely is.
Yeah, you truly are a visionary in this arena. And, I know you fell into it because, like you say, some of it is luck. But, I think we all make our own luck. And so people can decide that, I'm going to be part of this exciting venture capital world. And I said the same thing you just said, which is, what I love about it is you get to see the new innovations coming down the pike before anybody else. I'm constantly telling my friends and family, would you believe this woman came up with this idea that's going to help this or that, or, help, cancer, or help make your phone better or whatever. And they're always blown away by what I'm telling them. I'm like, this is an exciting world. You're getting a peek into the future before anybody else. It's very exciting. One of the things I'd like to do with the Invest in Her podcast is be a good resource for people that are out there that are entrepreneurs. How can we help them? How can we cheer them on? I think it's such a great opportunity to have you tell them, what would you do? What would you look for in a deck? I always like to hear you talk about that.
Yeah. I think it's a loaded question in a sense because everybody has an opinion on it.
Right.
But in general, what I really like to see is that when someone puts their pitch deck together, talking about the benefits of their company, I like to see, okay, so what is the problem that we're trying to tackle, right? How are you going to solve that problem,
Right.
right? And then I like to really, really quickly, early on in the deck, I like to get into the team, because the first thing that's going through my mind is I'm thinking, okay, that is definitely a problem. And wow, that's cool. They have a solution. Who's the team that has the experience to actually get this done? And if I don't hear that team up front, it just sort of starts consuming me. Well, who's going to do this? Who's going to do this? So I like to sort of get that out of the way early, that here's the team. We have all this wonderful experience. We're perfectly qualified.
Right.
And then from there, getting into things like, what is the size of the market, and exit strategies, really important
right.
from day one.
Yeah, I always love that you talk about, when we've been on calls with people, what are your 3 exit strategies? Like you always say, they shouldn't just have one in mind, but up to 3, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And 3 different vertical industries, right? So you wouldn't want to hear, well, we think we could exit to either Microsoft, Oracle, or SAP. Those are all enterprise software companies, right? We want to hear that, maybe you have a potential exit to enterprise software companies, maybe hardware companies, and maybe storage companies. I'm making it up, right? Or streaming services or something, but 3 completely different verticals. Because you just don't know as well, right?
Yeah.
But it does a couple things. Number one, if their product fits all 3 of those categories legitimately, that does open up those opportunities. And you just never know how things are going to change as the company starts to go.
Right.
So.
And I love that advice. I don't think I see that in a lot of decks.
Yeah, it amazes me how often a deck doesn't have an exit strategy. And why it's one thing if you're not raising capital. That's okay. If it's just going to be, there's nothing wrong with starting a lifestyle business. It generates enough income for you, and and you don't have an particular aspiration to get acquired, that's cool. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're taking other people's money in, the only reason they're investing is because they expect a return on that money.
Right.
So you better have a strategy for how because they're not getting paid interest or anything like that. They're only getting paid when that company exits.
Right.
So.
Also, I was going to say, besides that, what else do you look for in the deck? There's one other thing I was thinking that you always ask people. And I just forgot what it was. But, besides, I know what it is. You always say, do you have any customers yet?
Right. Well, there is nothing more validating. I mean, I think it's great early on that when things are just sort of a proof of concept or an idea, that they're validating that idea and getting data from the market to vet it and everything. But then they have to get some customers, right? And not just people using the product for free that say they love it, but paying customers. They don't have to pay a lot.
Right.
There doesn't have to be a ton of customers. It can be a handful, 3 to 5.
Right.
And a path showing that the revenue is increasing. And again, it doesn't have to be millions of dollars a year, but maybe year number 1 is $30,000 of revenue. Maybe year number 2 is $150,000. And there has to be a defensible upward trajectory.
Right. What would excite you most? Like, what kind of a company? I know you always say that you want AI involved at this point. Mm-hmm. Why is that? Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, it's twofold, and you have to be careful here, right? Because everybody tells us that they have an AI company and that they have game-changing AI and AI. Everybody has it. I think it's 2 different aspects. One is that they could have an element of it in their product to make their product smarter and learning over time. Or the other is that they use it operationally. Maybe they do it for, to help them with marketing or sales or something like that, where they're using sort of an AI bot or an AI engine to reduce operational expenses, right? So they can conserve the venture capital that they receive and use it in places where they really need to buy humans. So
is the reason that you feel like they need AI incorporated into their business is because if not, they're not forward-thinking enough?
Yeah, I think so, or they're not thinking in a way that's operationally efficient, right? If they say, well, we need to, we're going to raise some money and we're going to hire a marketing team. Okay, well, can you do any of that with AI? Right? And you want to hear that, oh, yes, this is the part that we're doing with AI.
Yeah. Can I ask you what might be one of the most exciting companies that you've invested in?
Gosh, yeah. I would have to say that one of them is it's a company that allows first responders to arrive sooner.
Oh, I like that.
And what they do is, in the old days, there were buttons in the fire trucks and the police cars to change the light. But the problem is that what if you have two light cycles in front of you, and the police car, the emergency responder has to get from point A to point B. Well, this clears the entire route, so they can drive at 60 miles an hour and get there. And if you think about it, in an emergency situation where someone's having a heart attack or the house is burning down, seconds matter, and seconds save lives.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
Is that nationally now, or is that just in a certain area that they've deployed that?
Started in a company that started in Silicon Valley, and they are deploying throughout the nation right now.
Wow, that is exciting.
And
I think I want in.
Yeah. Who doesn't want first responders to arrive sooner?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's a game changer.
Yeah, it really is. And the good thing is it doesn't require ripping out legacy traffic signals, which are very old technology and it costs a fortune.
Yeah.
They can use everything that's in place.
Wow.
Yeah, with this cloud software solution.
I love that.
Really great stuff.
I love that. Well, that's the kind of things we're looking for our
absolutely.
fund. Silicon Valley Women Founders Fund .vc, that's our website. We'll be looking at women owned companies that are creating innovations in technology and other sectors, but a majority in technology, especially given that that's your area of expertise, and that we have a great group of women that are also, that's their area of expertise that will be helping us to vet these founders and their products and their accounting and all of that. One of the things I love about what we're doing with the Silicon Valley Women Founders Fund is the Venture Studio.
Yes.
So the Venture Studio is John's brainchild about how do we make sure that the people we invest in are successful? So many venture capital funds will just hand a check to a founder and say, hey, good luck with that. It's why it's such a small percentage of them that really are successful.
Yep.
And when you invest in a venture capital fund, there only need to be a handful that are successful in order for the investors to get a nice return. But we want as many to be successful as possible, right?
Of course.
And
right.
so
right.
Rather than just hand them a check and say good luck, we are building out our venture studio to offer the services to those we invest in every areas that they need help.
Yes.
Could be marketing, could be coaching, could be
accounting or legal.
Yes, all of that. Yeah. And we think that really drives a higher degree of success. And I think a lot of the women-founded funds are heading more down that road of being hands-on with their investees to make them more successful. And so I think women getting into venture capital as creating funds and also investing in them is changing the venture capital landscape in a good way.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's very exciting. So we're super excited about our venture studio.
Yeah, no, yeah. and in the women founders funds that I've met through the movie, you can see that there's a lot more care and feeding that goes into their portfolio companies.
Absolutely. We featured Pocket Sun's Sobal Ventures.
Right.
We have featured Emmeline Ventures. We have featured Kelly Winget's Alternative Wealth Partners. All amazing women running those funds. And we have all had such a great journey together with the film. The film has raised a lot of money for those venture funds and for the entrepreneurs in our film as well.
Yeah.
We've got Deepa Khosla from IndieWild. We've got Vicky and Therese from Dapper Boy, Jasmine Jones from Maya, and also what's the other? Oh, Marion from Archer Ruse. All of them are doing amazing. I do attribute a lot to the film and people getting to know them and know their products and know them. I think you and I agree that it is so much about the founder.
Oh, it is.
It can
Yeah.
be the greatest product in the
Yeah.
world, but honestly, at the end of the day, it is about the founder. I did this TED Talk called Fund Women, Save the World, and it shows, I talk about that in that talk,
Yeah.
is that research shows people do tend to invest in people they identify with.
Yes. Yes.
And so that's why women haven't been getting a lot of funding. Often it is older white males at the table deciding who gets the funding. And so we need more women at that table deciding who gets the funding, and more men that are like-minded that want to invest in women who have great ideas, despite gender. Like gender
Right.
shouldn't even be a factor.
That's right.
But like-minded doesn't even necessarily have to do, as you and I know, with gender. Like-minded is like-minded. You meet a founder, and do you resonate with them?
Right. Right. Right.
Do they have the same values? Do they? What do they bring to the table? People do tend to invest in people they identify with.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I think it all starts with the founder, because if you have a founder and they're not coachable, or you know, they're too headstrong and they're not receptive to advice.
Yeah.
They might have the
there's
world's,
a few of those out there.
Yes, there are. They might have the world's best product, but
Right.
if they don't acknowledge that they need help and they're not going to be able to do this alone,
Yeah.
that's tough.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I know for us, it's important. You know, it's got to be good energy people.
Yes.
I think every founder should find investors that fuel them and don't take anything away from their energy, because it's hard to build a business. You have to. Not all money is good money to accept as a founder, right?
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah. I mean, you got lucky. You got your first investor was someone that took you in and gave you equity.
Right.
And
right.
they didn't have to do that. So you're lucky you aligned with good people. And
right.
Yeah. And there you go. That was your trajectory.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be exciting. We get to see all of the new innovations coming down the pike. We get to bring in the LPs, limited partners that invest in our fund that are aligned with our thinking and our mission to fund more women and BIPOC and LGBTQ and just great innovations out there. That's what we're all about.
That's it. It's simple. Yeah.
It's simple.
Yeah.
It's simple. Well, super excited for us to launch this, and
Me too.
Super excited to be talking about it today. And we look forward to hearing from listeners that also have great products and ideas.
Absolutely.
Who are looking for funding as well, and those that want to be investors, and also those that have services that would be great in our venture studio. So all of those things. We want this show, we want our fund, we want all of the things that we're working on, the movie and our endeavors to all be about how do we educate, how do we inspire, how do we give people hope, and how do we perpetuate forward the best innovators here on the planet, because it's going to impact all of us.
Sure will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. John, thanks for being a great guest.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, Catherine.
And everybody can find you on LinkedIn,
LinkedIn,
right?
absolutely.
Yep. John Majeski. I'm going to spell it for you for those just listening. John and then Majeski. And you can find me, of course, also Catherine Gray on LinkedIn as well, with Catherine with a C, Gray with an A. Thank you for tuning in, whether you're just listening or you're watching us today. We appreciate you taking the time. We are super excited to have you on board with us in whatever capacity it is, and on this journey for us to get more funding for women and help it impact generational wealth, as well as impacting the planet and doing good things that will make the planet safer, better, and more interesting and exciting and fabulous for everybody. So thanks for taking the time to tune in. John, thanks for being a great guest. Make it a great week, everybody. We will also see you at showherthemoneymovie.com, where we have resources. You'll find our screenings. You can book your screenings, virtual or in person. And thanks for tuning in. Take care, everybody.